Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the ECMWF, Meteo France, DWD and JMA long-range season models for this second video. So we're getting them all together and yeah, we're going to see what they're showing through the winter period. And I shall get on with that view very shortly. This is ahead, of course, of the third and final season model roundup, winter of 2021, that I'm going to release on Saturday, this coming Saturday. So yeah, big update this, and an even bigger update to come with all of the long-range models then on Saturday. And I think that'll be released Saturday morning. I don't think we'll premiere that. We premiered the last two season model roundups, but I don't think we'll premiere this one. I think we'll just release as a normal upload. Probably on Saturday morning. So I shall get on with the DWD, JMA, Meteo France and ECMWF season model update for you in a moment. Very, very big update, of course, this one with a lot of critical winter data. So yeah, I shall get on that for you very shortly. Just to say that the 12th Winter 2021 update has been released. So this is the penultimate winter update, can you believe? And part 1 of the 12th Winter 2021 update has been released. It was released at 10 AM this morning. Video is on the homepage at GavsWeatherVids.com and on the YouTube channel. Of course, it will be placed on the winter updates page probably tomorrow morning. I imagine I'll be a little bit tired to get written version of the 12th Winter update part 1 done tonight, because I've got a live stream to do. It's going to be a big live stream, and then I'm going to do part 2 of the 12th winter update. So I will think it's most likely I may try and get like the part 1 of the 12th winter update onto winter updates page for you with written summary tonight, but I will think it's more likely that will happen tomorrow morning. But it will be placed on the winter updates page either tonight or tomorrow morning with written summary, so you'll be able to watch the video on demand and have a read of that when you like. And of course, as I say, I'm going to be live streaming from 6 o'clock, so we're going to have our Sunday evening live stream. We're going to be looking at loads of long-range data. We'll look at some seasonal model output as well. Probably CFS V2 data, I would have thought, you know, do a proper run through with the CFS. So that will all be coming up from 6 o'clock. And no doubt we'll be discussing this update and also like the winter update as well. So that will all be coming up in the live stream from 6 o'clock. Okay, if you're enjoying the videos and the content on the channel at the moment, please can you give us a like and let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you sub to the channel. It'd be absolutely fantastic if you can do that. Right, so let's get on with it, mate. We're going to start off with mean sea level pressure anomalies from the JMA. Now, of course, the next tri-month period is December, January, February, winter 2021. So all of the charts as we start will be like centre on the winter. That is why this is such a very, very critical update for winter data. So we're going to begin with Meteo France mean sea level pressure anomaly for winter 2021, with high pressure sitting over and to the east of the country, and you know, it's sending a jet stream northwards a little bit like that. There should be a lot of dry weather associated with that. Now, with the position of high pressure, it's very difficult to ascertain whether this will be a mild or cold ridge, really. So the ridge like begins on its northern side up towards Scandinavia, but it is also going down towards Italy, so it's a very, very large ridge of high pressure. That could like drop a very mild, most of the time anyway, drop a very mild southwesterly. It is possible that could bring it, especially if the ridge was a little bit further north. Let's say the Meteo France has that ridge too far south. So if the ridge was to be more centred there, then it's possible we could bring in some colder air from the east. As it is with high pressure dominating, you know, there could be a lot of frost and fog potentially, that sort of thing. It's the next tri-month period from Meteo France. This takes us through January, February, March. What you see here is more of a westerly establishing. So the ridge is obviously moving southwards. Lower pressure is developing to the north. It looks like we're bringing in a little bit more of a westerly. So that's probably starting to turn milder as the ridge is collapsing. Maybe starting to turn a little bit more unsettled. The next trimester period gets us through February, March, April, and again it looks rather westerly now. So the high pressure is centred like to west of Ireland now, but also extends through the south of the country. Lower pressure deepening in the north latitudes, and just looks like westerlies are returning, like a westerly flow is re-establishing. So it applies for driest, coldest weather is probably earlier on in the winter. Maybe not excessively cold, but the dry, colder weather does occur probably earlier on in winter, and then it gets milder later. Let's see how the temperature anomalies are looking with Meteo France. So this is the temperature anomaly for December, January, February. And this one is looking very mild for far north of Europe. Generally a little bit above average in most parts of Europe. Temperature anomalies on the scale kind of 0.5 degree to 1 degree above average, something like that. Actually, for Ireland in the UK, we're very close to average, or we have no signal. So we're just about the coolest part of Europe, really, for the winter 2020-21, although we aren't colder than average, but we are pretty cool. Next trimester period just looks a little bit milder, doesn't it? This is January, February, March. We're going into the latter part of winter. Looks as though, I mean, it's not excessive, but it looks as though the temperature just lifting up slightly there, becoming a little bit milder. Most parts of Europe around 1 degree above average. That's February, March, April. Again, getting a little bit milder still. Again, it's not excessive, but it definitely looks like the earlier part of winter. Meteo France is potentially the cooler part, and then the latter part of winter is the part that gets milder, which would of course tie in with a classic La Nina type winter, which does tend to be colder earlier. Meteo France precipitation anomalies, so a little bit above average precipitation across the far north of Europe and down in Mediterranean. Otherwise, I mean, most parts of Europe have no signal. Next, the precipitation on the next to January, February, March looks like that. So it goes significantly above average with the precipitation for the far north of Europe. This southeastern corner probably goes, probably goes a little bit dry. Now, again, otherwise, no real signal though, really. So precipitation with these models and most long-range models always the weakest part of the update, and we see that quite clearly here. This is February, March, April. So the wettest area looks like it's Scandinavia. Of course, because it's Scandinavia, it's winter. A lot of that could be snow. But low pressure coming through here. It looks like got some higher pressure there, and just generally returning to westerlies, I think, with Meteo France as the winter progresses. Right, on to ECMWF. So this is how the ECMWF mean sea level pressure anomaly is looking for winter 2020-21. This one has a higher pressure out in the middle of the Atlantic, so mid-Atlantic region. Lower pressure to the north of Scotland. Winds are like coming in. Whoops, that's gone a little bit wrong. So, yeah, low pressure is like to the north. High pressure in the middle of the Atlantic. Winds are coming in through like a northwest-southeast direction. Applies cold snaps, I think. It's not a classic cold chart, because what's going to happen with this is that you're going to run the jet stream in like that. So to get classic cold, you need to get that high pressure much further north and centric within the north latitude. So not a classic cold pattern. Nevertheless, it probably does bring in, like a northwesterly cold snap type regime with low pressure up here, high pressure in there. You would probably expect like the jet stream to be on a northwest-southeast trajectory, I should say, and the chance of some colder snaps at times. Next tri-monthly period will take us through to January, February, March. Again, it's suggesting like a return of westerlies, so that ridge is sinking southwards into the middle of the North Atlantic. Lower pressure deepening around Iceland and the Norwegian Sea. Westerlies coming in with a strengthened westerly zonal flow. And so, again, it suggests very similar in a different way, but it suggests like early winter is probably going to be the coldest part. Later winter probably goes milder. And then go through to February, March, April, and it's looking like this with high pressure to the south, like through the Atlantic to South Country. Low pressure is up to the north. Winds are in from a westerly direction. Or with that one, a firm re-establishment of the westerlies, really, the later we go through the winter. So, ECMWF temperature anomalies are looking like this. Near normal for Ireland and the UK, otherwise most parts of Europe are mild and particularly so for like northern and eastern Europe. 1 to 2 degrees above average in the reds. Wow, very mild winter in the northeast of Europe. Next temperature anomaly for January, February, March, just a little bit above average across the west of Europe, but again, it's just the idea that later into winter it gets milder, even into either the UK. Warmest anomalies to average again in the north, in the east of Europe throughout the winter. Then February, March, April temperature anomaly is looking like that. And again, like Western Europe is ever so slightly above average in those yellow colours. Mildest temperature anomalies to average are in the north and in the east of Europe as well. The precipitation anomaly from ECMWF, again, looking very, very weak through most parts of Europe. Scandinavia has above average precipitation through winter. Otherwise, there's no signal. Next up, we have January, February, March. And again, like you can see how it's beginning to go a little bit wetter just to the north of the UK and into Scotland, for example. Above average precipitation there, and particularly wet around Scandinavia. Just the idea that Westerners are powering up as we go into the second half, into the latter part of the winter. If you like, most parts of Europe still have no signal. And then precipitation anomaly for February, March, April. Actually goes a little bit drier there. We're into the spring, of course, by now, so it's beginning to turn drier across the west of Europe. Still unsettled for the far north. Most other parts of Europe have no signal. Right, we move on. And next one is DWD. So we can see like quite a bit of agreement here between these models for the winter 2020-21, can't we? Again, with the DWD, mean cell pressure anomaly for December, January, February from 2020-21. We have the mid-Atlantic ridge. It's trying to get up towards Greenland. Trough of low pressure more towards Scandinavia. Again, this would suggest a northwest-southeast alignment to the jet stream. And at the very least, the chance of cold snaps. Again, we'll confirm in a moment, but I would suggest that that is most likely in the earlier part of the winter. Next tri-monthly period looks flatter. This is January, February, March. And so, again, we've got low pressure towards Scandinavia, yes, but it's also back towards Greenland, Iceland as well. High pressure in mid-Atlantic. Here's the westerlies. And so, yes, quite clearly, we can see that we have a zonal westerly flow. And it's generally pretty mild, or it's milder like later in winter compared to the potential for cold snaps earlier on in the winter. And then the DWD model looks like this for February, March, April. And again, it's all looking very, very samey. High pressure mid-Atlantic, low pressure deepening up here, winds in from a westerly direction. They are all agreeing that the best chance of cold snaps is earlier in the winter. Later winter looks milder. DWD temperature anomalies are a little bit above average in most parts of Europe. It's mostly very mild in the far east, northeast of Europe. Western Europe is closer to average. That goes on, that's sort of winter 2021. That goes on through to January, February, March as well. We're just at a little bit more on average out in the west. And then February, March, April look like this. So once again, close to average in the west. Otherwise, very little, otherwise warmer than average really through much of northern and eastern Europe. And then lastly, we've got precipitation, of course, for the DWD. So let's just deal with that. Getting ahead of myself. So above average precipitation for Scandinavia, driving average down to the southwest. Otherwise, most parts of Western Central Europe, no signal. January, February, March looks like this. So above average precipitation then across Northern Europe, driving average down to the southwest. Otherwise, again, no signal there either. And February, March, April, very weak signals. Northern Europe looks wettest up here. Southwestern Europe looks driest around Spain and Portugal. And with westerly flow, you'd expect much of like Western Europe to be quite unsettled, probably. Right, and then lastly, we've got the JMA, the Japanese Meteorological Agency, and that's just been added to the Copernicus suite last month. And very interesting, you can actually see more data now. You can see more data from the JMA, Copernicus.eu, a European venture, than you can at the JMA's own website, which seems very, very strange and very, very bizarre to me. But never mind, you know, we take what we can get. And so for the JMA, like Copernicus is the place to look, because you're going to see more there, really, than you will at the JMA's own website, in terms of the long range, anyway. Right, okay, so back to point. This would be mean sea level pressure anomaly from a JMA for December, January, February, mid-Atlantic ridge, but this one's going further northwards. This one's going up towards Greenland. And so, not just a northwesterly, but perhaps even a northerly sort of alignment there with the flow and with the jet stream. So definite potential for at least cold snaps, if not, you know, quite significant cold weather through winter with the JMA. Now, look what happens as we go through next trimester period. We actually set up a proper Greenland high. It's not just a mid-Atlantic ridge, it's January, February, March, of course, late winter. Not just a mid-Atlantic ridge, but that's centering up into Greenland. Lower pressure through here, you would have thought. Jet stream doing something a little bit, or the flow doing something like that. I mean, it doesn't show a trough of low pressure, but where that ridge is, just there, you would assume that there's going to be a trough through here. Where it's white, you'd assume that should be blue, and there's going to be a trough, which would, of course, bring the wind in from the north, maybe even the northeast. So, if anything, that suggests that late winter it gets colder. The potential for cold weather, you know, is in the latter part of the winter. Which is a complete flip on what all of the other models are showing, which is definite cold snap potential earlier in the winter and then milder later. But this one's doing it the opposite. JMA is very, very different. And then mean sea level pressure anomalies for February, March, April have a Greenland high. Again, there's no particular evident trough of low pressure, but you will think there's probably going to be low pressure through here, probably bringing in winds from like a northeasterly direction. The JMA is going for a cold winter there. I'm quite convinced of that. Temperature anomalies from the JMA. Whoops, we've got to go backwards. So, temperature anomalies for winter 2020-21 from the JMA look like this. Below average, generally, for the North Atlantic into the UK as well. Quite unusual for these long-range models to indicate cold and average temperatures, of course. So yeah, it's hinting at a cold winter for the far northwest of Europe. Otherwise, loads of white going on. Mildest temperatures look like very much southeastern corner. Obviously, that's much cooler compared to the other three models for winter 2020-21 most parts of Europe. That goes on into the next trimester period, which is January, February, March. I mean, it looks like most of Ireland and certainly northern Britain below average. North Atlantic is below average generally. No signal from most parts of Europe. It's a colder than average winter being signalled here from the JMA. I'm convinced of that. And February, March, April is even colder. So widely then, the UK and Ireland are below average. Very, you know, very unusual update from the JMA here for the winter 2020-21, and completely at odds with all of the you know, the three other models. And then lastly, precipitation from the JMA, and then we're done. So, again, very weak signals, drive an average out to our west. That's what we've got the mid-Atlantic ridge. Of course, it's for winter 2020-21. Drive an average in the Norwegian Sea, so that could be indicative of some blocking up there. Next tri-monthly period will take us through to January, February, and March. It's a bit above average with precipitation, like to our east. And of course, as it's driving average up here, we've got all this storm blocking. So where we're seeing wetter than average conditions here, like through the low country into Germany, eastern Scotland, a lot of that could be snow. It definitely could be in what will be a cold north to northeasterly or easterly type pattern. And then finally, February, March, April looks like that, dry of an average to our north. Notice how it's wetter than average in the North Sea, like on the east coast. That could well be like snow that it's picking up on. So yeah, I mean, the JMA is definitely going for a colder than average winter for the UK, but also for Northern Europe as well, and quite significantly so. Those are very significant blocking patterns that we have there, particularly, and interestingly, particularly later in the winter, actually. So particularly that time of the period of January, February, March, when the other models are like reverting us to westerlies, actually the JMA just takes that high pressure further north to Greenland. And so very interesting, and we shall see on Saturday, of course, how this how this sets up with all of the other long range models. So we've seen 4 of them here, but we're going to have to look on Saturday to see exactly how this tallies up with all of the other models. We'll get around 13 or 14 long range models together, I think, on Saturday. It'll be a very interesting watch, and you're going to see, for the last time before we release the winter forecast, you'll see how all of these long-range models are looking for winter 2021. And will the JMA be alone, or will it have any support from some other models? We shall find out on Saturday. Right then, so that's it for this one. Very big update this. So if you enjoy it, please smash your like button. Let us know in the comments what you're thinking about this. Make sure you're subscribed to the GavsWeatherVids YouTube channel. Click all notifications and maybe notified when we're releasing videos of live streaming. And if you sub, you'll be able to see future weather content. And we're going to be back at 6 o'clock. We're back at 6 with our live stream. We're going to look at CFSV2 winter data for that one. So more long-range models for the winter 2020-21 weather coming up for you at 6 o'clock this evening, or from 6 o'clock this evening. Don't forget to check out part 1 of the 12th winter update. It's on the homepage at GavsWeatherVids.com right now and on the YouTube channel. And as I say, that's going to be placed on the winter updates page with a written summary either tonight, but more likely, I would have thought, tomorrow morning. For this one, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at 6. Bye for now.